Our story of the Wirral in the 20s and 30s begins at Bebbington Station. Not the Mersey station of today, but back in 1919 on the London and North Western and Great Railways joint line from Birkenhead to Chester, where we board the train to Port Sunlight. Our 3/4 mile journey takes us alongside Port Sunlight Village. The Lady Lever Art Gallery is under construction and will be completed in about 3 years. In the distance is Christ Church, built for the first Lord Lever, at his own expense as an interdenominational church. Today, it's the United Reformed Church. The circle is for the War Memorial, still to be made for the Great War to end all wars, ended only last year. At Port Sunlight Private Halt, frequent trains offload hundreds of Lever Brothers staff. Some will change onto the train onto the bay platform on the left, to be taken by Lever's private train and rail network to the margarine works on the industrial estate. Opposite the station is the old post office. The library became the Heritage Centre and the District Bank is now NatWest. Port Sunlight Fire Brigade also provides a service not restricted to Port Sunlight, and frequent practice is necessary to combat the real thing. Behind the scenes, work carries on, and we take a look at some of the transport systems. Port Sunlight Dock on the River Dibben receives raw materials such as palm kernels, coconut and groundnuts for the crushing mills. Materials from all parts of the world would have been transported from larger ocean-going vessels in the River Mersey. Rail transport was used for the dispatch of most finished products, although some motor traffic and horse-drawn vehicles were used locally. Some parts of the country will be served by coastal shipping. A train of oil tanks heads for the top siding. A train travelling empty from the tip to the glycerine site. At the top siding, mainline locos take over from Lever's own locomotives to deliver goods to all parts of the country via a very large national rail network. Lunch break, as workers relax outside the works. As we move to 1929, camel herds are major shipbuilders, having been established for about 100 years, amalgamated with the steelmaker's camel. Birkenhead docks, where locomotives are exported to all parts of the empire and the rest of the world. Three o'clock on the 19th of August 1931, and cloudbursts are seen in Lower Tranmere on Union Street and Newchester Road. Half an inch of rain falls in 20 minutes. Newchester Road between St Paul's and Woodside is 1 foot deep in water in the space of an hour, but apparently Old Chester Road nearby is 2 feet deep, and Borough Road forms a raging torrent. Birkenhead trams are in the last year of operation on a new ferry route, which will close at the end of December. The petrol station is still on the site in the background, and behind that, the sub-power station for the trams. Sunshine again, and soon everything is back to normal in Parkinson's Dairy in Union Street. Wednesday the 18th of July 1934, and in brilliant sunshine the first Mersey road tunnel officially opened. Connecting Lancashire to Cheshire, it's described as the greatest engineering achievement to date. Over a 9-year construction period, it cost £8 million to build and is 2.13 miles long, excluding the branch tunnels. At the Birkenhead entrance, built on the site of Birkenhead Library, donated to the town by Andrew Carnegie, there are 3 miles of crowds, with people finding vantage points by climbing onto rooftops and clinging to chimneys. At 11 o'clock, the band of the Grenadier Guards, dressed in scarlet and bearskins, play the British Grenadiers. The 4th 5th Battalion of the Chester Regiment, based at Chester, lines the tunnel entrance supporting the Birkenhead Institute Scout Troop. Captain A.C. Dawson, Birkenhead's Chief Constable, looks after arrangements in Birkenhead. King George V and Queen Mary complete their journey through the tunnel, accompanied by Transport Minister Leslie Hall Belisha of Belisha Beacon fame. After the speeches, the town clerk hurries across to introduce Birkenhead's oldest inhabitant, Samuel Gillingham, to the king, and they chatted about the royal telegram sent to Mr. Gillingham on his 100th birthday. The party move off and drive around the town, up Grange Road and Charing Cross to the new Central Library, replacing the one demolished for the new tunnel entrance. The royals are greeted by Alderman Sully, chairman of the library's Museums and Arts Committee and father of the council. Pressing a jewelled lever later given to the king, the new library is declared open. Amongst the crowds are the cadets from HMS Conway and Birkenhead School. The Chinese laundry opposite displays both British and Chinese flags. The King and Queen leave and head for Rockferry Station for the Royal Train. Note the tram lines in Borough Road. Also in 1934, Founders' Day is celebrated at Bebbington Oval. It's in honour of the first Lord Leverhulme, founder of Port Sunlight. It was an annual event that lasted till the 1950s. Here, Chester Motor Club display their skills. Now here's an unusual event, football on motorcycles, with England represented by Chester Motor Club. The match consists of 3 20-minute sections with a 5-minute interval between each. Changing ends is done midway through the second section. In addition to the referee are 4 linesmen and goal judges. But France win 6-3. Again in 1934, we have Bebbington's Golden Fete, led by 3 rose greens through Port Sunlight Village. by Bebington Road to New Ferry Park. Air Ace Sir Alan Cumming visited the Wirral with his flying circus for National Air Days in 1933, 34 and 35. Registration letters on the aircraft helped identify this as the 17th or 18th of June 33, with 2 performances each day at 2:15 and 6 p.m. at Arrow House Farm in Upton. In 1924, Sir Alan was the first aviator to fly from London to Australia and back by seaplane. Aircraft here included a Havilland 823 Foxmoth and an Avro 504K from Houghton Park. The 10th of October 1934, and Camel Laird launched their 1,000th ship, the 5,000-ton Clement, for the Booth Steamship Company. New Brighton has been a place for days out for many generations of people, even today. New Brighton Baths is said to be the largest outdoor pool at the time that it was opened by Lord Leverhulme in 1934. And in 1936, a diving championship takes place here. At the western end in 1929, before the Promenade was built, Harrison Drive was a favourite place for swimming and relaxing. In 1929 and 1930, beach bungalows are taken for the season, and often people would like others to see them in their very best clothes. Seacombe Ferry was largely used by commuters and connected at regular 10-minute intervals with Wallasey bus services. most of which were terminated at the ferry, shown here in 1936. Heavy seas off Egerton occurred from time to time, this being a particularly bad storm in 1938. The coronation of King George VI and Queen Elizabeth is celebrated on the 12th of May 1937 in Priory Court, Birkenhead. Priory Court was situated a few yards from Birkenhead Priory and is now the site of a small industrial estate. Street parties were everywhere, and on this day is one of Birkenhead's most important, as it's visited by the mayor. After the war, Priory Court disappeared to be replaced by industry. we wonder how many of these people survived the severe bombing of 1941 and what happened to the members of what is obviously a very close-knit community. Until 1938, steam trains ran from New Brighton and West Kirby, connecting with the electrified Mersey rail at Birkenhead Park for the journey under the Mersey towards Liverpool. During 1937, the third rail system of electrification was installed on these branches and stations reconstructed in a 1930s architectural style. Trains would now be able to run directly through to Liverpool, saving valuable minutes, and were cleaner and more convenient. Mersey Railway's old-fashioned American-style trains were now more than 30 years old and would operate to New Brighton, but the brand new ones from LMS would go to West Kirby. However, on Sundays they swapped around. The 14th of March 1938 is the official opening. The last official steam train brings the Mayor of Wallasey, the Mayor of Birkenhead and Liverpool's Lord Mayor, with the chairman of the LMS Railway to West Kirby to be greeted by the chairman of Hoylake and West Kirby Urban District Council. The official party depart by the new electric train number 28689, which coincidentally was the last remaining 503 train, and it ran in service for nearly 50 years. The 28th of July 38, and a proud day for the history of Camel Herds. The new Mauretania is launched. After fitting out, she departed on her maiden voyage on the 17th of June 39. Only months later, her luxurious fittings were removed and she was converted into a troop ship that covered the globe. Surviving the war, she re-entered passenger service in 1946, being officially scrapped in 1965. In summertime, people generally walked to Raby Mere, although there was a bus service for a period of time. The Mere was a pleasant, picturesque attraction with a small pleasure ground and cafe, and rowerboats for hire. In winter, the scene had changed. Hard winters in the 30s gave the opportunity for ice skaters to enjoy themselves. In fact, many families bought ice skates especially for these winter occasions. Bidston Mill, silent since the 1870s, here with its fairly new sails which were replaced in 1920s and again in the 1980s. These are Thurston Church and Bidston Church. The old suspension bridge that spanned the road cutting through Bidston Hill, Viner Road North. Park Gate on the River Dee with a very sandy shore, way before the marsh that would develop decades later. Thorntonhoff Smithy and its spreading chestnut tree. A tribute to the First Lord Leverhune's revamp of the village. It's rugby at the Bebington Oval. The Port Sunlight Club play the travelling Liverpool. In 1938 and 39, the Birkenhead ferries are busy as usual, with the luggage boat Bebington built in 1925 by Camel Airs still operating in spite of competition from the new Mersey tunnel, and it will continue to do so until 1941. We leave Liverpool Pier heading past the new Streamlines trams in the terminal loops and head for Rock Ferry. Nearing Rock Ferry, we pass near the naval cadet training ship Conway, here since 1876. Behind in the distance, the Indefatigable, a naval training school for orphans and deprived children. Both moved to Anglesey in 1941 to avoid the bombing, but Conway was wrecked when she broke her back on the rocks in the Menai Straits after the war. Indefatigable was scrapped. It's now the 30th of June 1939, and on a light summer's evening at 10:20 p.m, we wait for the last ferry from Rock Ferry to Liverpool. The Upton, another Camel Air product, operates the service, for which it was built in 1925. The gangplank is raised for the last time, and it's farewell to a ferry that lasted in municipal hands from 1899. It's 1939, let's take the ferry to New Brighton, a trip that's no longer possible. Many from the heart of the Wirral would take a bus to Woodside, the ferry to Liverpool, and then change to the New Brighton boat. This pre-war colour film has mellowed with age, and is evocative of the era. The Tower Open Air Fairground is a favourite place for many and remained so up until its closure in the 1960s. The Tower building houses a large dance floor, a popular place for Saturday nights. Originally there was a tower on top of this building and it was even higher than Blackpool's, but not as tall as the Eiffel. This unfortunately was dismantled around the time of the First World War, but what an attraction it would be today. It's 2:24 on the 20th of May 1939 and Alderman J.G. Story, chairman of the Works Committee, cuts the tape to open the new Promenade extension from near the Baths at New Brighton to 300 yards short of Harrison Drive. This brings the full length of the Promenade from Seacon to New Brighton to 8 miles. It was hoped that the land behind the promenade would attract the developers of new hotels and leisure activities. The Second World War would start a few months later, which would end such optimism. And the new image of New Brighton was not to be. To complete our look at the Wirral between the wars, we go back to where we started in 1919. Leavers staff who don't live within walking distance of the factory crowd the company's private station to board trains home, maybe down the line to change to trams, buses or ferries. And change is the operative word because we hope that these clips of aging film have succeeded in portraying the changing face of the Wirral down the years.